velvet on her wrist, lies in the pit. Casinos don't sleep. They change dealers. When the last bus coughs its tourists back onto the boulevard and the neon stops trying so hard, the floor switches languages. Day speaks in stroller traffic and complimentary coffee, in the swallow of a novice when a stack of reds becomes fewer than the story they meant to tell. Night speaks in shoe leather and dice singing down the felt, in shuffles that flirt with rhythm, in the soft clearing of a dealer's throat before the burn. The eye blinks less but sees more. If you've never stood on a catwalk above the baccarat pit at 2 in the morning and felt 1,000 small decisions climb your spine like an elevator that forgot which floor was home, you don't know how a city can fold itself into velvet and wait. My name is Evan, pit boss at the Lark, where the carpet is an argument that always wins and every chandelier thinks it's a horoscope. On my belt, a fill key that persuades a rack to be generous, a comp book that turns appetite into mathematics, a silver Sharpie that adds names to luck, a radio that calls me by my better self. I can tell by a player's shoulder if the next hit is going to be requested or regretted. I can feel in the air when a dice crew has switched from confident to cruel. I know from the way the chips kiss in a stack whether the dealer wants to quit or has remembered why they stay. Mira, my wife, then curated Wales the way old priests curate relics. VIP host, smile that could comp gravity. She wore a narrow velvet ribbon tied on the inside of her left wrist, a secret band my mouth could find if my credentials were current. On Wednesdays, when our orbit permitted, she'd badge through the employee entrance and slip behind the pit into our hush like a card sliding into a shoe. She'd sit on the edge of my high stool, one heel pegging the rung, two fingers threading my belt under the pretense of fixing a loose thread. I'd put my mouth in the notch below her collarbone, the little runway where a voice accelerates, and breathe until her shoulders changed professions. We were careful. The eye forgives nothing. The felt forgets slowly. The first sign didn't shout, it coughed. At 0109 the high-limit door logged held, 3S, no read. At 0112 the tilt alarm on a dome camera over Salon A blinked and recovered like an eye too close to a mirror. At 0116, inventory in the host pantry showed 2 champagne splits gone without a check and 1 bottle of club soda returned like a bland apology. At 0119, in the prep corner behind the baccarat rail, I saw a plastic flute drying upside down with a lipstick ring neat as a coin flip, wintergreen red, peppermint with a patience problem. Mira tastes like fig and a violet liquor she pretends to hate. Wintergreen belongs to someone auditioning for a camera. 2 nights later, the same minute put a cool palm on the back of my neck. Held. 4S the cage intercom recorded a 1-second press with no voice. On the carpet outside the service elevator, a single sequin sat in the pattern like a star that had learned to gamble. Sequins don't work here. The Lark's uniform is wool and shadow and the stiff mercy of black. I'm not a cop. I'm a priest of procedure. But I believe in traces. In the training drawer, we keep a bottle of UV developer for new dealers. The gentle light we dust on hands to show them how even good luck leaves fingerprints. That night I drew 3 invisible crescents into the building, under the push bar of the high-limit door where an eager palm would lean, along the underside of the chip cart handle, where a steadying hand might cheat gravity, and around the back of the private thermostat in Salon A, the one a thumb would stroke without thinking. I tied a hair-thin loop of monofilament across the staff door to the skybridge. Nothing to harm, only a truth that would curl and die on the threshold if disturbed. Then I looked at myself in the dark reflection of the baccarat mirror, the one that teaches men to watch their own faces lose money, and smiled the way you do when you've already chosen which drawer of yourself to leave shut. Myra arrived later, mouth amber, dress obeying gravity politely. She took a sip of the pit coffee, burnt and faithful, and pressed her palm to my sternum as if it were the comp button that solves 7 problems at once. "Your floor flirts," she said, not looking at me, but at the stack of purples in a whale's rack that made the room go quiet for a second. "It dreams," I said. "I make lists until it sleeps." My hand found the side of her throat. Hello, not proof. Her shoulders softened the way a plan does when it stops performing and starts being true. "We should have it," she said. "The conversation," I said, because I like to dress difficult animals in names. "Open," she placed the word between us like a crystal we would pretend not to drop. "Not chaos, not cruelty. No one from your crew, no one who signs my checks. We say it before, not after. Protection is policy. We come first. Our bed is a border. The lark," her glance included ceiling and camera and me, "is sanctuary." I made the joke about being sacristan of felt. Her mouth retired it for cause. We signed with skin and we meant it until we didn't. Morning returned the filament like a dead moth on marble. Under UV, the crescents grinned, door, cart, thermostat, exactly where human eagerness maps itself. In the shadow under the Salon A drink stand, a clear earbud tip slept like a white lie. Myra disciplines her hair with matte pins that don't attend parties. This little transparent thing belonged to a man who thinks listening improves his face. His name arrived wrapped in content and inevitability. Ronan Pike, ex-pro gambler turned host of Run It twice after dark, a channel that turns other people's money into a mirror. He had the handshake of a man who measures rooms by how quickly they decide to be impressed. White sneakers that pronounced creative on our carpet. "Casinos are confessionals," he told his videographer, and the eye caught his profile like it was tired of casting. His gaze traced the distance from the host desk to the high-limit door like a thief reading a psalm. At home, the kettle sang the tune it knows. Myra spread her fingers on our kitchen counter like a layout for a meet and greet. "I used the word," she said. She didn't shrink. "I won't bring that into your walls, not again. Not here." "What time?" I asked, a man of logs trying to launder a feeling with numbers. "It isn't the hour that cleans it," she said, and I resented her accuracy more than I loved it. We lived 3 weeks like citizens of a polite border. She told me before. I put the bottle of light back with the other demonstrations that keep adults honest. Ronan flowed through nights with a lens and a laugh and a talent for rearranging attention around his mouth. The floor breathed. Our pact felt engineered. Thursday keeps receipts. 0109 held. 5S0112 blink and return. 0116 flutes wintergreen. On the staff cam, a silhouette paused to tie a shoelace with the posture of a man who thinks someone is filming, and he's right. I didn't call security to invent religion. I walked the pit, adjusted a tray, told a dealer that their break was coming and meant it. I let my anger sit like a dog I didn't choose, and it stayed, badly but enough. We separated with the competence we give to weather. Myra took a 1-bedroom over a bakery where sugar changes the barometer. She took the singing kettle and left me our chipped mug, the right kind of joke for people who still trust each other with the smaller violins. "Hate me clean," she said. "If you can't, file me under seldom." "I label well," I said, and she smiled like I'd proven something even if we would not use it. Work stitched me where I'd frayed. I caught a team running a soft pass on dice and unfurled courtesy until it looked like authority. I comped a steak for a man who had lost the version of himself his wife liked and pretended the meat could teach him. I told a dealer he was good at not taking things personally and bought him a coffee to make it true. She came at 0241 with a Pelican case, and a braid stabbed through with a pencil. Jade, the lead from surveillance systems, the one the eye listens to when it wants to do better, smelled like clean solder and cool room air and sleep that hadn't happened yet. On her left middle finger, a small pale scar curved like a comma where a rack door once argued with her hand. On the catwalk above the pit, she pressed her ear against a PTZ housing and drummed the back of her fingernail until the cheap fan confessed it was tired. "Respect, not force," she told the camera. It settled down like a dog that remembered its name. "Everything worth keeping," I said, angling my flashlight where she would have asked if she were the asking kind. Our fingers grazed when I passed the driver. The electricity went the right way. Our first kiss happened in the closed poker room at 4 in the morning while the felt pretended not to breathe. We had killed the lights for inspection, honest enough, and left a work lamp making a small, respectful sun. Jade set her palm on my sternum with that gentle precision of a tech checking heat in a panel. I put my mouth under her ear, the little country where breath bargains with language, and the lark stayed upright while we tilted. She kept her eyes open, not a dare, a gratitude. My hand found the side of her throat, hello, not proof. We stepped apart before any system could decide to log us. We laughed like professionals who count things and chose not to count this. With Jade, precision wore warmth like a uniform altered to fit the shoulders. She likes my thumb resting on the pulse inside her wrist, and my refusal to rush even when the dealer down 2 is building a narrative with purples and a prayer. She'll slip astride my lap in the tiny glass office above the pit, blind down, monitors dim, the eye pretending to yawn, and draw with a fingernail on my forearm the path from lens to encoder to retention, turning a body into a diagram that keeps a city honest. We made rules the building could bless, not on the floor, not in the cage, not where a camera remembers better than we do. Yes, in the closed poker room with its enormous hush. Yes, in the catwalk under the bulbs that make the air blush. Yes, on the roof where the sign forgets to advertise and just burns. If you came for revenge with confetti, I'll waste your cover. I could have printed logs and circled wintergreen and walked them to a GM who loves the theater of policy. I could have taught Ronan Pike the difference between allowed and welcome. I could have made Myra learn what the pit knew for me. But a casino is a sanctuary for other people's gamble. The widow who comes alone to play $5 blackjack because her husband liked the sound needs the room to keep its promises. The dealer who is saving for a daughter's braces needs the eye to remember kindness and truth in the same posture. Jade prefers me smelling like lemon polish and patience, not victory. Myra and I learned how to talk without turning chips into knives. She kept the contract to stage our spring fundraiser because she is excellent and I am not small. Sometimes she texts me a photo of Basil trying its best. I send back a still from surveillance at 4:03. Empty pit, felts like dark ponds, a lone chip left of its own idea. Proud of you, she wrote the night I escorted a man away from a table before his temper made a stain he'd have to live with. I let the words land. They didn't have teeth. Ronan still drifted through nights, lenses in tow, making content out of other people's nerves. We crossed by the limited access door. He lifted 2 fingers in a salute that looked borrowed. "Casinos are confessionals," he tried again, to me this time. "They're ledgers," I said. "We keep what people do, not what they say they meant." He smiled the smile of a man who mistakes composure for permission, and let the door close behind him with a pride it had earned. Nights went back to honest. A woman in a red coat sat at a slot like it could translate grief. I walked past at the speed of trust and nobody asked me for anything. A dealer choked on a bad run and learned the ritual of washing the hands, starting over. I made sure the next break came early and unannounced. Dice sang. Poker lied politely. The carpet held its breath and let it out. Sometimes I wake on the narrow cot in the glass office at an hour the digital wall clock refuses to bless. If Jade's shin lies heavy across my thigh like a comma exactly where a sentence needed breath, I set my hand along her throat and wait for the lift that says yes. The difference between an ending and a finish has a temperature. My palm reads it better than my mouth. Months after the UV went back to the drawer with the other useful lies, the Lark hosted Velvet and Light, the gala that launders money into proper nouns. I wore black because black forgives uplighting. Myra stood under a tamed rig, hair shorter in the way decisions sometimes are. Is she gentle? She asked without saying Jade, because we've learned to offer names like gifts, not weapons. She's exact, I said. It's my religion's word for good, tenderness with a manual. Be kind, she said, not a blessing, an instruction. We touched glasses of water because water keeps your hands honest and the champagne had work. Near a stack of silent chips, Ronan told a circle that chance is a mirror. They tipped him with attention he'd already priced. Let him keep it. I had a fill to sign, a door to lock, a woman to meet on a catwalk where the eye hums a lullaby to its own better nature. Casinos don't do morals. They do counts and fills and markers and drops, and 1,000 small rituals designed to keep strangers from breaking on each other's hope. To the new floor supervisor who will slip into my office at a savage hour with eyes too bright and ask what to do with the part of the job that won't live in a sop, I will say what I say to myself when the felt offers me a stage for my pride. Log it, breathe, decide. Keep the sanctuary sacred. Don't let the pit carry your grievance. Keep evidence if you must. Refuse the robe. Remember the widow and the $5 seat. She won't wait for you to finish forgiving anyone before she needs the dealer's hands to be steady. Before dawn, I take my last round like a hymn you learn with your feet. I run my palm along the rail of the baccarat table like I'm petting an old patient dog. All green, I tell the radio, which is another name for the place behind my ribs. The small LEDs give me their small, honest truths. I silence what should sleep. I turn a key, the whole profession folded into one faithful click, and climb the stairs to the catwalk. Sometimes Jade is already there, pencil stabbed into her braid, smelling like cool room and clean metal. She sets her palm on my sternum like a tech trusting her meters. I put my mouth under her ear where breath remembers language. I keep the only oath I ever took without paperwork. Sanctuaries are built, not found. Love is a count that balances. I won't use this floor to stage revenge. If the log coughs again at 0109, I will see it. I will choose a drawer, the one with powder or the one where patience sleeps, rolled tight like strap. Lately I open, look close, and choose patience. It looks good on velvet. It keeps me upright. And when the first shift arrives smelling like coffee and possibility, I go back to the pit with luck on my tongue, Jade's hand in mine, and the quiet certainty that tonight I carried the truth at the right speed.